Welcome to The Blind Side. News and information from a blindness perspective. Here's Jonathan Mosen.
And look at this. This is episode 69, and it is also the last episode of The Blind Side for 2017. We will be taking a break for the next month or so, and I anticipate having the first edition of The Blind Side for 2018, which will be episode 70, available probably in the week of the 22nd of January, which is when Mosen Consulting's offices reopen. If we don't quite make it there, certainly the second week that we're here, which will be, I guess into early February, but we do hope to have a podcast out in the week of the 22nd of January. Very much looking forward to the recharge time here in Wellington, the capital of New Zealand. We have had a lovely bit of summery weather. It's really quite epic, and it sounds like it's going to be a lovely, long, hot summer, which is how we like Christmas here in the Southern Hemisphere. There's a possibility that you may be listening to this after Christmas. Perhaps things have got a bit hectic before the festive season, and you're getting around to hearing episode 69 a little after that. Well, this episode is for you because we're going to be talking to somebody who continues to make a huge contribution to our community, who found a gap in the market and has filled it so well. We're going to be speaking with Mel Scott from BlindAlive. I've been wanting to talk to Mel for a wee while, and now seemed like a very good time for two reasons. First, maybe after having a little bit too much indulgence at Christmas time, you are thinking about getting into shape for 2018. Well, BlindAlive can help you with that. It's also a good time to talk to Mel because they've just released their iOS app towards the end of November. So now if you want to purchase BlindAlive workouts from the iOS app, you can do exactly that. We'll be talking about how to do that. And I just think it's great that Mel has made this contribution. She has decided to get into a market which is a difficult one, and we'll talk about the difficulties of the market. But if you're interested in getting into shape, making 2018 your best yet, then have a listen to Mel because she's got some great advice for you. And I have to say, it's a subject I feel pretty passionate about, having made a bit of a transformation myself, and I've talked about this in other contexts on the podcast in the past. So I did enjoy our chat with Mel. Looking forward to bringing that to you in just a moment. Now, just a reminder that the Mosen Consulting offices are closed from the 22nd of December until the 22nd of January. Yep, it is a nice long New Zealand summer, and we like it that way. We will try and answer in a reasonably timely manner any questions you have relating to difficulty in obtaining something from the store. The store is automated. So, this is a good time of year, right? If you've got a little bit of time off to maybe get into the podcasting course, that nice long podcasting course, or the Broadcast It course on Station Playlist and Broadcasting, or any of our other titles, the Zoom Cloud meetings, having a look at the iOS bundle. There's all sorts of things you can do. And the store's automated, so when you purchase from us, you don't have to wait for the purchase to be delivered manually. It's an automated process. When you pay with PayPal, there's a link, once you've made your payment, that returns you to the Mosen Consulting store. And when you go back there, you will find links to your purchase right away so that you can make the download. We do also email the download links to you, but sometimes we get our emails detected as spam, and ISPs filter them and do terrible things. Sadly, email is becoming increasingly unreliable because of all the spam that's out there. So the best thing to do when you make a purchase from our store is to make sure you click back through from PayPal to the thank you page, and then you will find the links right there to download your purchase. So that will keep going. If you do have any issue with downloading, then we can't help during this off period with apps to read them with or whatever. All we can really do is make sure you get what you paid for. And then, especially during this summer period, it's up to you to find a utility, an app on your PC, your Mac, your iPhone, your Android device to read what you purchased. But if you have some problem with that, with actually getting what you paid for, obviously we're not going to have you wait a month for that, and we'll do our best to sort things out in a timely manner. But for all other inquiries, we're not responding. We are not. We're having a break. And so they will wait. We'll keep them in the queue until the 22nd of January. I hope you have a restful time off like we intend to. Mushroom FM has some great holiday programming coming up for you. Do check the schedule, which is displayed in your time zone at mushroomfm.com/schedule. That's mushroomfm.com/schedule. Some great festive season programming. And then at New Year, we'll be doing the traditional thing that we've been doing, for almost a decade now. And that is to bring you a New Year's celebration from New Zealand, since New Zealand's pretty much the first to see the new year. So that will be on New Year's Eve at 3 a.m. Eastern Time. Yeah, at this time of the year, New Zealand is actually 18 hours ahead of US Eastern Time, 21 hours ahead of US Pacific Time. And so at 3 a.m. Eastern Time on New Year's Eve, that's 9 p.m. on New Year's Eve in the evening here in New Zealand, of course, we will be counting down into 2018 with a bunch of guests and having a lot of fun. That will be live, and it's a bit of a good old party. So we look forward to having you tune in to that and keeping us company.
Feel the need to sound off? Share your thoughts about this week's show by email. Send an audio file or write it down and email theblindside@mosen.org.
In response to last week's podcast, I'm Chris from England, and I just wanted to thank you for the great interview with Emma Bennison concerning her shocking treatment by Virgin Australia. I'm totally blind myself, says Chris, and work in the public transport industry, promoting disability awareness and accessibility, mainly within the rail industry here in England, although I quite often take short-haul flights to elsewhere in Europe. Just pausing the email there to say, I must say I've had some very good experiences with rail in the UK. The assistance that you can get in the UK with rail is quite remarkable, in my view. I mean, you can have somebody get you right onto the train and be there to meet you off the train. I've had some very good luck in unfamiliar destinations. So if you have something to do with that, Chris, well, I, for one, am grateful. Just continuing the email, everything which Emma had to say rang true with some of my numerous experiences over here. He says, things have got especially bad now that since 2006 and the adoption of the EU regulation 1107/2006, the meet and assist service for passengers is now the responsibility of the airport rather than the individual airline. And so these types of services have been contracted out to so-called specialist firms. These firms tend to have poorly paid and poorly motivated staff who usually carry out the assistance requests, but it's much more service with a snarl rather than service with a smile. I like that. I must remember that, especially when you, as I always do, refuse to sit in the wheelchair, which is brought along more often than not. Absolutely, Chris, I refuse to sit in the wheelchair as well. It's an accommodation that we don't need, and the industry needs to be sensitive to providing the accommodations that we do request, not the accommodations that they think they want to impose on us. So good for you for holding out on that one. Anyway, says Chris, Emma did all the right things in my experience, i.e. remained calm and professional, etc., as I've had to do on numerous occasions myself. I agree with her wholeheartedly, though, when she ponders what would have happened had someone with less knowledge and experience to fall back on, and this is always a concern of mine when I have a less than positive experience whilst travelling. Thanks very much, Chris. I appreciate the email.
It's time to hear from this week's featured guest on The Blind Side.
It's the last Blindside podcast of 2017, and that means that you might be thinking about 2018 New Year's resolutions. One of those might be to get in shape, and it's a great idea. As somebody who's now, I think, well over 70 pounds down, it's a great feeling to be able to put something on, a shirt that you used to wear, and your kids make some sort of comment like, man, this looks like a tent on you. It's certainly better than the opposite problem. One way that you can do that to get into shape is to get in touch with BlindAlive and access their workouts and other material that they have. To talk about BlindAlive, who better to talk with than its founder, Mel Scott. Mel, it's a real pleasure to have you on The Blind Side. I've been looking forward to doing this for quite a while, so welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. This is great fun. Yeah, I've been looking forward to it too.
Let's talk about you first and your background. What got you into BlindAlive? What did you do before BlindAlive?
Wow, I was a massage therapist for 32 years, I think it was. I had my own practice, and I decided it was time to do something different. In 2000, I believe it was, I had a bout with breast cancer, and my upper body strength was compromised after that. And so I decided I'm going to do something different. And this is what showed up.
Why did it show up? What made you decide to pursue this whole idea of blind people and fitness? Because it does seem to me that you found a niche. A lot of blind people struggle going to the gym because you're full of people. You know, there are feet kicking everywhere. There's equipment that might not be accessible. Actually being in shape as a blind person, it's not necessarily that easy.
You are exactly right. And that is what I found. I've always been interested in fitness. I started doing yoga, I guess, when I was about 15, and swimming in college and walking, and just all of, just being very aware and careful with my body. And massage therapy just, fell in. It fit so well with me. And then when I decided to change over, I don't know exactly what happened. One day I was riding my bike, my stationary bike, and I was mad. I was upset because I wanted the DVDs, what is it, PX90 or the Beach Body, all those fabulous DVDs, those exercise programs. And I would order them and I would get them and I couldn't do them. And it made me mad. So I just thought to myself, nobody's going to do this for me. I'm going to need to create it myself because nobody's going to do it. So I thought, okay, if I want this, then there's got to be other people in the blind community that want it too. And that's what happened. I had been thinking about doing something on my own. I had been helping Vashon Jones with Fedora Outlier. He taught me everything I know about the Mac. And I was working with him some, and I realized, technology is not my thing. My thing is fitness. And so I used what I learned about podcasting and blogging and the computer and all of that and moved it over to fitness. And so that day when I was riding my bike, I got this huge energy flood, and it just said, you create it, you go do it. And I thought, I can do this. And I got off my bike and went straight to my computer and just started making lists. And within 6 to 8 months, I had the website. I had 6 workouts. I don't think I had started my podcast at that time. But that's what happened. It just fell into place.
Can I ask you about that bout with breast cancer? Because I do hear from people who say when you have something like that happen to you and you're really confronted with your own mortality, you do tend to have a greater sense of urgency if you're given a second chance. If you're able to survive that and recover from it, you tend to be a little bit more driven than before.
Absolutely. That's absolutely the truth. And I had done massage therapy for 32 years, and I knew that I wasn't finished serving. And this worked for me. And the whole breast cancer thing, I was so lucky to have caught it, very early. And I took pretty aggressive measures, to make sure that it didn't cause me problems. And unfortunately, it did show back up exactly 2 years ago. And so last year I spent doing treatments and, that whole thing. I did not do the really aggressive treatments. I told the doctors, I said, you know what? I'm not doing this. I'm willing to do 2 of the drugs, but 2 of the other ones I'm not willing to do because I believe that I can take care of myself and keep the cancer at bay by being fit and eating well and exercising every day and keeping my weight off. We might live longer, possibly if, we do all the aggressive drugs and that kind of thing, but I don't necessarily think the quality of life is better. So I'm very passionate and devoted to taking care of my most precious possession. And I like and really enjoy motivating and inspiring people to do the same, because we've got one body. That's all we get.
What is eating well in your mind? It's a highly debatable point these days, isn't it? And there are very distinct schools of thought. What works for you, or what do you personally recommend?
In terms of eating well, is that what you said?
Yes, diet and lifestyle. I mean, for example, the weight I've lost is due to going really ketogenic, high fat,
There you
high
go.
protein, and low carbohydrate, and the weight just fell off me. And I did a lot of reading about this before adopting the lifestyle because it seemed so counterintuitive, and I was worried
Right.
about killing myself. And yet, I just feel so full of energy, and just cutting the carbs and eating lots of good healthy fats has just skyrocketed my metabolism, my energy, everything. And yet other people say, look, you've just got to count the calories. You've got to keep the fat out of your diet. You've got to eat lots
No.
of, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. And everybody is different. And we have to put that disclaimer in there because every body is different. And, some bodies can't handle that ketogenic diet. And some really do great with it. And I do that. I eat very few carbs. And the carbs that I do take in are in the form of wine or beer. I have my glass of wine every night and I enjoy it. And that's, a lot of days, that's my carbs. I also have chocolate every single day. But other than that, I'm eating pretty much just plants, and I do eat some sprouted grains, lots of nuts and seeds, and I do eat meat occasionally. What I say is I'll eat meat if I know who its daddy was.
Right.
If I know who raised it, where it came from, and that whole thing. I'm very particular about, we are what we eat. And also I can get very passionate about taking care of the planet, and, eating a plant-based diet is going to be better for all of us. So obviously you got my passion point.
Yeah, I tend to eat a lot of meat here, but in New Zealand we are quite fortunate in the sense that not a lot of our meat here is grain fed, and the stuff that is purely for the export market for people who want grain fed meat. Everything is grass fed
Yeah, like
here.
the US.
Yeah. Everything's grass fed here, so just the butter that you pick up in the supermarket is grass fed as a matter of course. It's not some sort of special thing, and yet in the US, you've really got to pay a premium for grass fed butter there. So we are quite fortunate in that regard.
Oh, you are. I want to live there.
You'd be very welcome. Let's talk about how BlindAlive got started then. So you made this monumental decision and you decided that you were going to crack this yourself and make fitness accessible. And I think one of the things that you've really been able to do and shown some leadership in our community is if there's something that you felt like you needed to get some expertise to handle, you've brought in some good people around you to build up this business.
Absolutely. Because I'm not a technology person, and I'm not a podcast editor. I'm not even a fitness instructor. And so I consulted and brought in people that can help me do the things that I can't or don't want to do. And if you're going to have a business of any kind, I feel like you really need to make that investment to bring in people that are smarter. I'm always looking for people that are smarter than me. And I've got a million ideas, but I can't act on, I can't make manifest if I don't bring in the people that can help me to pull them out of the ether, as it were. So that's true. Lisa Salinger So fortunate to have her. She knows the technology. Her brain works very differently from mine, and she just helps me be sane. And then my web developer, Chris Cox, my whole website, everything, it's been completely, built from scratch so that everything is accessible. That's my main thing. The website isn't beautiful, but it works. And visual beauty was down on the priority list for the website, but I am going to start kicking that up a little bit now. And then Austin Seraphin, he's been with me about 3 years now, and he's totally blind, and he wanted to build an app. And we talked, and I just said, okay, let's see if we can do this. And it took us a long time. I mean, because the learning curve was just huge. And believe me, we are still, we're learning every day, every minute. I'm learning something. And Thanksgiving Day, I got an email in my inbox. It says, congratulations, your app is for sale on the App Store. And I just about hit the ceiling. I was so freaked out because it was a surprise. We kept thinking we'd submitted it so many times and it had been rejected, and I just fully expected it to be rejected again.
What were they rejecting it for? Were there some technical reasons they were rejecting it, or what was their issue with the app?
Well, the thing is, we were doing test flight, and all the beta testers, everything was beautiful. And what do they call it? IV4 or I something 6. I don't know what it is. I don't even know what it's called. But they didn't tell us that whatever it was had to be 6 and not 4. So we had to go back and restructure everything. And then they would say things like, well, your restore all purchases button isn't there. Well, it totally was there. It's just, they couldn't see it.
Right. Sounds like accessibility in reverse, right? VoiceOver users can see it and they couldn't see it visually.
Exactly. And so
that's ironic.
Yeah, it is. It's hysterical. And so that has been the problem. It works beautifully with VoiceOver, but sighted users, have problems with it. So then the reviewers were having problems with it, but we've gotten most of that worked out now. So anyway, I diverted from your question. You have to keep me on track.
No, that's interesting because there are some geeks who are listening to this who are interested. I also wanted to ask you about the website. Are you running that in WordPress or Drupal, or what's powering that?
It's Squarespace.
Oh, right. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And the shopping cart is custom built, completely custom built. So Squarespace, it's all, the whole back end has been hand built, as it were. And I think sometimes if I had known what I was doing, but I may have done things a little bit differently. But because I don't know what I'm doing, I'm in it now up to my eyeballs. And so I'll stay the way it is. But my web guy, because we had talked about possibly moving over to WordPress. And the concern was that there are so many third-party plugins that if one of those plugins wasn't updated or the accessibility functions got broken, that it could bring down the website. And we just decided, let's just do it right from the beginning. So we're not continually going back and fixing fixing things. So that's what we're doing. And then the shopping cart, it's all custom, but it does go through PayPal. You can pay through PayPal, but the shopping cart itself it's very, very easy to navigate.
I imagine doing the app may have been a difficult business decision for you because this market is small, and it's also a market where people often don't have a lot of discretionary income. So it's a very tough market to sell to. And then you've got Apple taking their 30% cut on everything that you sell. And that's a very tough one for a market this size, isn't it?
It is. And to be perfectly honest, we don't know what toll it's going to take yet, because I haven't even seen any real financial reports. I haven't gotten paid, because it just came out on Thanksgiving Day, and I think they pay out every month. So I don't even know what the difference is going to be. What we have seen is that the website traffic has dropped off a lot, and I don't know what that means money wise. And I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'm a very, very transparent person. We are not making a profit. I'm not anywhere near breaking even at this point. So I do need to make some changes, or to find a way to reach the people that I'm not reaching, because I'm sure you realize, I call it the blindosphere. The blindosphere it's not a huge amount of people. And you and I talk to the same people. You talk to the same people that I talk to from on podcast, and you probably connected with the same people on Facebook and Twitter and whatever all the other socials where we hang out. There's a huge amount more blind people out there that could make use of what I have to offer and what you have to offer, but they're very challenging to get to. So that's what I'm bumping up against, is figuring out how to get to those people that aren't where we are.
It is a fascinating market with some quite unique dynamics. If people go to the BlindAlive website, what's on the website for people to look at?
Okay, so we have a blog that comes out every week, which you can also subscribe to the newsletter there on the website. And then that blog will land in your inbox just once a week. And then if we have special announcements, you'll get a newsletter. Any workouts or announcements for new programs or promotions or anything like that will come through the newsletter. There's a podcast that comes out every 2 weeks. And then the main event are the exercise programs. And at this point, we have 20, I think. We've got cardio workouts and sculpting with weights workouts, and so weightlifting. I've got a bar method. I've got 3 yoga programs, 3 Pilates programs. I have a balance and stretching series. The latest one we just put up was introduction to foam roller, and I've got a interval training workout coming out in probably a couple of weeks. I haven't 100% decided when we're going to post that, but it's ready to go. So you can go to the website and purchase everything as a single digital download, or you can get the bundles, which are, significantly discounted. So if you got, say, the cardio bundle, that would be less than if you were to buy all 3 together. The thing that we're coming up against is, if you purchase the workouts from the website, that won't translate over to the app. So if you want to use them from the app, you have to purchase them from the app. You can't buy them from the website and then expect them to then just land in your app. We have not been able to work out that whole thing, because iTunes, Apple won't let us. And they dictate the pricing structure as well. So that $.99 that you see everywhere is because they made me do it. I didn't want to do it. But So that's what's there. It's quite a bit and growing all the time.
So if someone's decided that 2018 is the year where they're going to stop being a couch potato and really make some progress. I mean, if you have been pretty sedentary for a long time, you got to take it easy, right, to begin with. So where should one start with all of those workouts that are available?
There is an entry-level bundle that has some of the really basic ones. And I would suggest that starting with the gentle workout set, which is a set of 4 workouts that are 20 minutes long that you can actually do from a chair. You can do almost all of the exercises in that set from a chair. And then there's also chair yoga. So you don't have to worry about getting up and down from the floor. Also, the level 1 workouts. Let's say you can walk around the block and you can lift a pound. You could start with the level 1 workouts, cardio 1 and sculpting 1, and those would be a great start. The thing that I think people allow themselves to they rationalize in their head, well, I don't understand this one exercise the first time I hear it. And so then they get frustrated and they quit. So what I tell people is turn it on, listen to it, attempt to follow along. And if you get frustrated, you stop. And then the next day you turn it on again and you listen again. And it's amazing what our brains can do with a good night's sleep. If you sleep, the next time you hear it, you're going to think, oh, I can't figure out why was this so hard? I got it this time. And then I think the other thing that people put in front of them is, well, I can't do the whole 30-minute workout, so I'm not going to do any of it. And I just say, do 2 minutes. And then the next day, do 2 minutes again. And you'll be surprised at, how quickly you can advance. So I just, that's the thing. I just want to encourage people. Don't let that frustration stop you. We've got to have tenacity.
Yes, I think what also happens too is that if your mind is telling you that something's going to be too difficult, either because you won't understand the instructions or because it's too intense, that will probably be true.
Exactly.
The mind is a very powerful thing.
It is. It absolutely is.
Although, again, it comes back to your niche, because I remember a while ago now, I've been really seriously on this journey for a couple of years now, and I remember getting one of those 7-minute workout apps to begin with.
Right.
And I was very frustrated by the instructions in that app, and they had pretty little pictures that sort of showed you how you were supposed to squat or what you were supposed to do with the steps and luckily I had sighted children around and I could ask them for assistance. Not everybody has access to sighted assistance in that way, and I was so determined to crack it that I was able to crack it with their assistance. Presumably you spend a lot of time with your instructors working on the way that these things are described so that they're in a blind friendly manner.
Absolutely. The way that works out is I decide what type of workout that I want or that I think other people want. And then I find an instructor. I have 4 that I work with. Jennifer Kern, her mother is blind, so
Yes.
she is a very natural describer. Shayna Mayleaf, her mother is blind, and she is a very natural describer. And then Joe Semek is my yoga instructor, and he lives close to me, and he has a beautiful voice, and he comes to my house, and we go through it. And so he writes the script right there. We're working together. And then Barbara Seiden, she has her master's in in fitness education, and she's an amazing fitness instructor, but her voice and her willingness to be in front of the mic is not so great. So what we do is we design the workout together. She comes over, she teaches me the moves so that I get the moves right, and then I write the script. And what I did for this last one was, which is coming out in a few weeks, is I sent it off to a voiceover actor. Beautiful voice. And I'm really excited. I'm super excited about that. But that's what happens. I mean, I have an ability to describe because I know what I understand as a blind person. So the trick is to get as few words as possible, but have enough words so that you can get what's going on. And then what I do is there's the workout, and then I have a whole other section that's just the audio description. So you can go through each exercise on its own, and that is me walking you through it. And then we have a text file that is essentially the script broken up in different parts. So different people learn, in different ways. So I'm trying to help people to get it the way that they can get it. So there's a lot of time that goes into the workouts.
When should somebody use cardio and when should they use strength training? What are the advantages of each for those who are just coming into this new?
So, as you probably know, since you've been doing a lot of this, yourself the last couple of years, the research changes about every day.
Yeah, it's conflicting too, isn't it?
Yes. So the right now they are saying that the best thing you can do for yourself is to do weight-bearing exercise. That means plyometrics, which means things like body weight exercises, say, push-ups, planks, pull-ups, those kinds of things, lunges, squats, and lifting weights. That's going to help your body to burn more calories. You're going to feel stronger. You're going to feel better. And if you have been a super sedentary person, starting with cardio is going to be hard because you're going to get out of breath very quickly and you get frustrated. If you start with warming up your body just a little bit, doing a little bit of marching in place just to get your joints kind of loosey-goosey, then you can begin with the very light weightlifting. And then once you've got a couple of weeks of weightlifting so that your muscles are a little bit stronger, then you can move into more of the cardio. Cardio is going to burn calories. It burns calories a little bit faster than weightlifting, but strong muscles burns calories longer. And so ultimately, weightlifting is the way to go. And cardio is good because it does strengthen your heart and your cardiovascular system. But if you're really looking to lose weight and straighten, and strengthen your body and to feel toned, weightlifting is the way to go.
I approached this whole thing from a technology standpoint because I knew that was what would kind of drive me and fascinate me and keep me engaged. So
yeah, right.
I got this little home gym now and I've got quite a few gadgets. I found that the one that I really found helpful when getting started was the rowing machine because it was kind of a combination of strength and cardio. You set the rowing machine to a pretty heavy load and you're lifting some heavy stuff with your arm muscles and strengthening those, and that was cool. But you get a bit of a cardio workout too. And then I got one of these machines where it's kind of like a bench press, but it's a bit more versatile where you can load it up with a whole lot of weights and you can either pull the bar or lift the bar with your feet, or there's probably a name for that sort of machine. But you can there's all sorts of bars that you put load on and lift. And I use that a lot now. And it's amazing because you're right. What happens is the more muscle mass you have, the more energy it takes to keep your body working, and so you're burning fuel basically with the more muscle. So it's pretty cool.
Right. That's what. So you burn calories all the time.
Yeah.
If you've got strong muscles.
Yes. The one thing that frustrated me about that, though, and I might be overlooking something, but the Apple Watch doesn't. It makes it hard to get credits for strength workouts. It's really easy to get praise and attention for the cardio, but it doesn't really seem to be able to cope with strength training based workouts.
I think that's right, and I understand that people need a lot of gadgets, or the gadgets are fun.
I'm the worst for that. I'd freely admit it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's great, because you found something that works for you. And I think in the end, though, that inner motivation needs to be there, because after a while the gadgets wear, the shininess wears off and it's not fun anymore. And, for me, it's that inner motivation, because I want to stay alive for a long time, and I want to feel good for a long time. And you got to move.
Yes, I think I got very lucky in the sense that the gadgets saw me through long enough that all of a sudden my kids were sort of bundling me onto a bus and forcing me to go out and buy a whole new wardrobe, because everything was just so baggy on me. And they said, we're disowning you as a dad unless you completely replace every item of clothing in your wardrobe. And when you get to that point, my goodness, it feels good when you've achieved that, So then you don't need the gadgets to stay motivated, because you think, I am never going back there. I'm never going back to where, I have to, in fact, I'm just about onto my second wardrobe replacement now, which is pretty.
That's so fun.
Yeah, it is. It is. And you feel good about it. I'm interested in the psychology behind this. I don't want to sound like a quack about it, but sugar is incredibly addictive. And my prediction is that one day we will feel exactly the same way about sugar that we currently do about tobacco.
Oh, I do already.
Yeah. Oh, well, I do too. Yeah.
And artificial sweeteners.
Yes.
People don't realize the damage that's being done, and they make it worse. I tell my people, I'd rather see you use sugar than artificial sweeteners. I don't want you to use either one, but I'd rather see you use some nice raw honey or some nice maple syrup, or something like that, than an artificial sweetener. I can go off on sugar and soft drinks and that whole thing. I can really get wound up about them.
And yet there is enough evidence out there now to be pretty clear that stuff is killing us. It's doing incredible damage. This epidemic of obesity and diabetes and dementia even, a whole lot of things that you can link
Absolutely.
to diet and lifestyle. Why do people keep doing it? It's an incredible hold that these substances have on people when the evidence is clear, and they're still guzzling the Coca-Cola or whatever it is.
I know. And it's really difficult. People do have different knowledge bases. They do have the idea that I can't afford it, And also I think people, they're not exposed to the facts necessarily. I mean, you and I are motivated, but there are a lot of people that they don't know that they need to do something different than they're doing. They know they don't feel good, but they don't know why. And doctors don't tell you. They just say, "Oh, you need to lose weight." And, then you walk out of the doctor's office and people just feel in despair because they don't know what to do or where to turn. And particularly our population, the doctor might hand you a folder and says, "Here, go home and do these exercises." And they're, like nice little pictures with very cryptic text directions, and they can't do that.
Yes. So historically, we have been deprived of that information in an accessible way.
That's right. And that's where my passion comes from, is I don't want inaccessibility to be the excuse for not getting up and appreciating your body and moving and feeding it well and moving it well and all the things that you do. My hope is that we can get the information out so that people have it, so then they have a choice. I can't make people exercise and I can't make them eat well, but I can give them the tools and the information, and people have to do with that what they will.
I was saying this to another person who was asking me about, what I had done to make this transformation. And I was saying to them, sometimes on a summer day, you can sit inside your house, maybe the windows are open because it's a summer day, and your neighbor is running a hedge trimmer or a weed eater. And so there's this constant horrible noise in the background. But after a while, your brain kind of desensitizes itself to it because it has to. And then finally, when that hedge trimmer or that weed eater stops, there's this blissful, glorious silence. And you think, dude, I had no idea that was annoying me so much. And for me, the getting your life on track with what you eat and how you move is like that. You don't realize how bad you are feeling until you take control of your life and stop feeling badly.
Exactly. That's exactly right. It's a very good way to put it. You don't know that you're feeling bad until you stop, or until your body really yells at you in some way with a huge amount of pain. One of my big things is water. And people tell me, oh, my back hurts, my leg hurts, whatever it is. And I say, well, how much water do you drink? And I tell you, I swear to you, this is the truth. I had a client one time, and she would come to me every 6 months or so, and she would be in such pain, and she would tell me all these things that were wrong with her. And I said, so how much water do you drink? And she goes, oh, I drink Coke. She said, I have a Coke by my bed, and I drink Coke off and on all night long. And she was telling me about all the pain she had, and she has restless legs, and she doesn't sleep well. And I just had to bite my tongue. It's the drinking water and substituting water for pretty much every other beverage. That one change in your life can make a giant difference. It's huge. And people don't know.
It's interesting you say this, because those who've been listening to the podcast in recent weeks will know that we've been living in these awful conditions because my wife, Bonnie, has decided that we needed to upgrade our admittedly antiquated kitchen. And I've basically given her, I said to her, you're the project manager over this. I don't really mind. Just do what you want. But please, let's have a working kitchen again soon, because we actually had our kitchen almost ready to go. And then we got a new breakfast bar and a new countertop and everything. And it got delivered to the people who were supposed to be sending it out to us. And they promptly ran it over with a forklift. And so they had to manufacture another one, and that delayed us for quite some time. But where I'm going with this is that the one thing that Bonnie did very kindly do was, because of all the water that I drink, we now, and the kitchen is up and running, I'm pleased to say, in time for Christmas, we now have where the sink is, there's actually two sort of faucets built into the sink. One is specifically designed to dispense purified drinking water, and it's actually built right in to the sink. There's nothing to install or maintain, or it's really cool. And the plumber said, I haven't actually seen anything like this before. So we can just walk up to the sink with a nice glass and turn on this very special tap, and it dispenses purified water from everywhere. And, the difference that it makes, And it's not just any old water. I learned something the hard way a couple of years ago. I thought, after reading a bit, that it might benefit me to drink distilled water. And it was one of the worst mistakes I ever made in my life. Yeah, because
don't do that.
I know that now. I went to a game, a cricket match, so you're out in the sun all day, and I came back, and that night I had the most insane leg cramps. It was, and cramp in your leg is just hideous. And it turned out that it was just because of all the goodness that the minerals that the distilling process was taking out of the water. And as soon as I went to drinking proper purified water that wasn't distilled, all the cramps went away.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you need to eat a lot of watery vegetables, fruits and vegetables, because you can get a lot of water that way too. And that rides along with the minerals and vitamins. So yeah, I bet your body did feel bad drinking distilled water because it was probably actually leaching out the minerals and that kind of thing from your muscles and your bones.
Yeah.
Which probably didn't feel so good.
Dumb idea. But it's kind of fun to do a bit of biohacking and learn what works and what doesn't. Listen to your body and things. And I've learned a lot that way. But do you take supplements as well? Are you into sort of things like fish oil and multivitamins and that sort of thing?
I do. I do. I go see an acupuncturist, and I really do struggle with depression, particularly for me this time of year. It's winter and dark, and so I go see an acupuncturist, and she keeps me on track with different supplements. I do a lot of vitamin D and calcium and magnesium and vitamin A and probiotics. Do a lot of probiotics, but I do, green shakes, pretty much every morning. So I'm getting a lot of good stuff from my diet. I'd rather get this vitamins and supplements that way rather than taking a whole lot of pills, but I take enough.
The yoga interests me because this isn't necessarily about physical fitness. This is more about kind of body and mind connection, right?
Yoga can totally be physical fitness.
Okay.
And it is physical fitness, but it has that fabulous component of gearing you down at the same time, which is the beauty of it. I adore yoga. But there's power yoga. There's all different kinds of yoga now. And you can get super fit by doing yoga. And then there's the gentle yoga, which is, more about strength and flexibility, but also that mind soothing, calming connection, which I meditate. I meditate every day. That's super important for me. And I do that sometimes with yoga. I do that with sound. I do sound meditations. I do breathing meditations. I journal and I write and read text that help me to just get my head in the right place.
I'm really pleased you brought meditation up. I was going to ask you about whether that plays a part in your life because, while I'm still while we're all still works in progress, I suppose I have to say meditation has just made me such a better person. And I do 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening, and it just keeps me grounded. And it also it makes the inevitably there will be tragedies and difficulties in your life, and it just keeps you grounded.
Absolutely. So with the what got you going with the 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes at
Well,
night?
This is interesting. So I started off, I guess, seriously. I had a few meditation apps that I'd picked up over the years because I was sort of curious about it, mainly thanks to the Beatles. I'm a major Beatles character, and of course they did they did the Maharishi Maheyogi meditations. So I got a bit interested in what that what the benefits might be. But then I think got seriously into it with Headspace, like a lot of people, which is
Oh,
really
right.
focused on mindfulness meditation. But
Mm-hmm.
then I felt that something else, I felt I wasn't quite finished with the journey, and I was still looking for something beyond the mindfulness meditation. And I still pay attention to my breath, and I still do mindfulness meditation. And I use the John Kabat-Zinn apps as well, which I
Mm-hmm.
find very, very good indeed. But then I came across a woman called Emily Fletcher who does a course called Ziva Mind Meditation, which is kind of like a cheaper version of transcendental meditation where you have a mantra that you focus on. And
Right.
that's the 15 minutes I do each end of the day is the mantra-based meditation. And I really find that incredibly grounding.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that sounds great.
Have you considered broadening what BlindAlive is doing to include things like mindfulness and meditation? Because there are too many of these apps that have accessibility issues, and it can be incredibly frustrating. Not actually good for one's peace of mind when you download an app that you think is going to really get you grounded and you find button, button, button.
I know. That's exactly right. Well, the in the app, I actually have a sleep meditation that I recorded and a guided relaxation that was recorded by Joe Simic, my yoga teacher. And his voice is just fabulous. And it's a guided relaxation, but you know how a lot of the guided relaxation and meditations, they're all visual, see
Yes,
yourself
they are.
in the beautiful garden with the flowers and the blue
Yeah,
sky and the bubbly, all that kind of stuff. And so I wanted to have something that didn't trigger us as people who are blind.
very good. Yes.
And so those are actually free when you get the app is free. So the free ones there's a morning meditation, an evening one, a morning stretch, an evening stretch, and then a sleep meditation and a guided relaxation. So I am thinking of those kinds of things. In fact, I was thinking a lot about it this morning, actually.
It's really great. Yeah. So that means that there is content that people can explore at no charge when they install the BlindAlive app and have a look at it.
Yes. Yes. Those are the 4 free ones. And there aren't any really, big time workouts that are free, but I'm working on that. We're working out. We're working up to that. What I'm doing is making a couple of the workouts a little bit shorter so that they can be, free downloads so people can get a taste of what the other ones are about.
Do you get feedback from your customers in terms of the difference that what you're doing is making in their lives?
Yes. And that's what keeps me going. People write to me and, they're just so thrilled that they've got something that they can do. And, vocational rehabilitation teachers and orientation and mobility counselors, those people are really happy to see what I'm doing too, because then they can help their clients that they're working with to know what resources there are. And yeah, I save those emails when I get, good reviews or good feedback. I save them in a special folder. So when I get down, I can go read them.
It's good. It's a good thing to do, actually, just when the chips are down, and sometimes you do have difficult days in life and in business, to have those emails to refer to remind you why you're doing what you're doing.
Exactly. That's for sure.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're doing just a fantastic job, and I'm sure the best is yet to come. What's the best way for people to find this app? If they search for BlindAlive in the iOS App Store, is it going to come up?
Yeah, it will. If you search for BlindAlive without any spaces, it'll come up better. And I don't know if there's a way we can make it search better in the app store or not. That's something we haven't looked into. But BlindAlive, if you do that, it'll come up. If you look up Eyes Free Fitness, and that's EYES-FREE Fitness, it will come up also. And then there's the website, which is blindalive.com. That, that'll come up. You could also search on eyesfreefitness.com. That comes up too.
Very good. And we will provide a link to both the website and the app in the show notes for this podcast, so people will be able to bring those show notes up and find it very quickly, and they'll just choose the link. If you choose the link on your iPhone for the app, it'll pop right up in the App Store. And
exactly.
so we'll do that. It's an
That's
absolute pleasure to talk to you. And the difference that you're making is just super impressive. So I'm glad we finally got to do this, and I'm sure that we'll keep in touch.
Oh yeah, this has been so fun. I've really, really enjoyed the conversation, and we just blabbed and blabbed.
That's right. That's what it's all about. Lovely to talk to Mel Scott to end the Blind Side for 2017. Looking forward to being back with you in 2018. Can I close by saying thank you so much for supporting this podcast? The listenership continues to grow, and I really appreciate that. We try to mix it up. We try to look at blindness from a range of angles. We look at the technological side of things, current affairs, politics, emotional well-being, spiritual issues. We've done it all in 2017 because there are blindness angles to most things in life, and it's been a blast covering them. I'm looking forward to the break, but I'm also looking forward to being back with you, recharged and doing it all again in 2018. Thank you so much. If you're listening to this before Christmas, if you celebrate it, have a very Merry Christmas. If you're doing the Hanukkah thing, have a great one. As Bonnie says, I think she picked this up from Seinfeld. She tells me Happy Festivus for the rest of us. I think that covers all the bases. Have a great new year, and we'll see you back in 2018. Thank you so much for your support of The Blind Side. I do really appreciate it a lot.
Thanks for listening to The Blind Side, a production of Mosen Consulting. On the web at mosen.org.